just recently, the first living person received a pig kidney transplant, and he was discharged from the hospital. He went home Wednesday. He's doing fine.
To the message of hope as a remarkable patient wakes up in his own bed this morning. Errol Reshef is here with more on the first human to receive a pig kidney. Yeah. Everyone is so excited about this.
They are, for good reason. Remarkable is the perfect word, Robin. The patient, Rick Slayman, is out of the hospital. He has a long road of recovery, rehabilitation, and monitoring ahead, but his operation was historic and his progress in the days since unprecedented.
This morning, Rick Slayman is waking up in his own bed after receiving the world's first successful transplant of a genetically modified pig's kidney into a human. The 62-year-old discharged from Massachusetts General Hospital Wednesday, saying his recovery is progressing smoothly just 18 days after the groundbreaking operation.
It was a high wire act in the OR.
At the time, doctors hailing the 4-hour-long surgery as a success and their patient a hero. Slayman was fighting end-stage kidney disease, undergoing dialysis for 7 years before receiving his first transplanted kidney from a human donor, which failed last year. Doctors emotional as they reflected on the monumental achievement.
My deepest gratitude goes to our MGH team.
More than 90,000 people are on the wait list for a kidney in the U.S., but less than 16,000 are transplanted annually. On average, 13 patients die every day while they wait.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, we've had our first successful pig kidney transplant. Our 60-year-old man, Mr. Slayman, and he went home. He seems to be doing fine. So let me just give you a little bit of history on him. And as I do, in the chat, give me a 3 if you or someone you know has kidney disease. Okay, and we'll talk about some numbers. So I should be seeing a lot of 3s because kidney disease is actually quite common. So let's talk about this living kidney, this pig transplant going into a living human being. So Shador, they've actually been doing this research for a while. And even before this patient, they did do some pig kidney transplants in brain dead people who had donated their bodies to science. Okay, they were brain dead. And so that's why they weren't considering them to be alive, just to see if the technology would work. And the genetically modified pig kidney was donated by a biotech company that apparently was co-founded by Harvard medical scientists, or HMS. And here's what they did in order to get that pig kidney ready, Shador. They genetically modified it, meaning they took some of the genes and they edited them or knocked them out of the pig to help the pig kidney be more compatible with the human. They even took out some of the viruses because pigs have porcine endogenous retroviruses, and they have some that can really take us out, okay, can really make us not be alive. And so they took out some of those viruses, and they even added some human-like genes to the pig kidney genome, just again to help it be more compatible. All in all, they did 69 edits to the pig's genetics, to the pig's genome. And so now we have genetically modified pig kidneys, which it looks like are compatible with humans. So this is the first pig kidney transplanted into a living human being. But prior to, there were 2 pig transplants that went into humans. These were heart transplants. Unfortunately, both of the people who received the pig heart transplants died weeks after. I know at least one of them died because of a virus, one of the pig viruses. But again, with the pig kidney, they knocked out certain viruses that they thought would hurt human beings. And one thing, and actually I was on a show, I was on Scripps News, a national news show, where I did an interview, and the interviewer, Alexa, did ask me, what do we think? We know 2 people died after getting pig heart transplants. What do we think about this person, Mr. Slayman? How's he going to do with the pig kidney transplant? And there's something very different about heart transplants and kidney transplants. If your heart stops working, you cannot live. Okay, that's the end of the story. If your kidneys stop working, as long as you have dialysis or another form of kidney replacement therapy, you can live. So of course, we're praying that this pig kidney transplant lasts, but if it doesn't, if the pig kidney stops working, well, he'll go back on dialysis, until he's able to get another transplant. So we're dealing with two different organs. But just to give you a little bit more about him, the person who received the organ, yes, he's 62 years old. He has a history of diabetes, which is the number one cause of kidney failure, and high blood pressure, the number two cause of kidney failure. And if you're someone who's listening to me and you are struggling with high blood pressure, or you have loved ones who are struggling with high blood pressure, and sometimes you feel like doctors are putting too much medicine on you, not telling you, the different things that you can do naturally. I do have videos, okay, how to lower blood pressure naturally. But a very great resource I have is my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. Okay, you can click a link in the description and you can find out how to get this book. You can also go on Amazon, okay, and put the whole title in, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. I really explain in a way that's really easy to understand what high blood pressure is, the definition of it, who's predisposed to it, and what lifestyle modifications you can have, and also how to know when to say when. It's not one or the other. A lot of people will come into my office, doc, I don't want no medicine. I ain't taking no medicine. Well, okay, but if your blood pressure is 190 over 110, and I think you're at risk of having a stroke or a heart attack before you even get out of my office door, then medicine is going to be the right answer most likely for you. Then we'll do the lifestyle modifications, and guess what? As those lifestyle modifications kick in, then we can wean you off medicines, okay? It's an integrative process, but you'll really get a lot of great insight if you check out my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. Okay, but back to our pig kidney transplant recipient. He had diabetes, he has high blood pressure, and he had been on dialysis for years. Like initially he was on dialysis for about 7 years, and he got a human kidney transplant, but that transplant rejected, and he was at a point of going back on dialysis. And his doctors actually had recommended that he get a pig kidney like a year ago. For whatever reason, that didn't work out, but it worked out now. And on March 16th, 2024, he had the pig kidney transplant. It was a 4-hour surgery, and it looks like he's doing well. So fingers crossed, prayers up, because here's the implication. As they mentioned, a lot of people need kidneys, okay? And there are about 16,000 kidney transplants a year, which means that of the 90,000, most of them are going to die while waiting for a transplant. And when we talk about all transplants, not just kidneys, 17 people die each day while waiting for a transplant. Most of those patients are kidney patients because the kidney is the most sought after organ. So make sure, consult with your physician, consider being an organ donor. And there's a lot of misinformation about being an organ donor, Shador. I know, I encounter it in our office all the time. Some people think that if they donate a kidney, then they'll be stuck with just half of their kidney function, right? But no, if you donate your kidney, you're a healthy person, that one kidney you have left will bulk up and do the work of 2 kidneys. You only need 1 kidney to live and to live well. And the transplant centers are actually quite protective of people who want to donate. If you have diabetes, they won't let you donate. If you have lupus, they won't let you donate. If you have high blood pressure that's controlled, not on too many medicines, you may still potentially be able to donate. But if you have uncontrolled hypertension, they won't let you do it. Get this. If you get in there and you realize that psychologically you're really not ready to give the kidney, they won't let you donate, and they'll protect you because they won't tell that potential kidney patient, the kidney recipient, the reason. So just, please consider being an organ donor. I'm an organ donor, but there's a lot of health disparities, Shador, when it comes to transplantation. It's very expensive, right, to get transplants. And so a lot of people who have low income, and a lot of people, quite frankly, Black people, Latino people, different people in marginalized communities get less kidney transplants. And so the hope is that with this pig kidney, if this is something that works out, then perhaps more people will be able to get transplants. We save more lives. We help to close that health gap, that racial inequality gap, that income inequality gap, that health equity gap. So that is what's going on with the pig kidney transplant. Now, again, as you come on in, make sure you like this video, share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend, but press 3 if either you have CKD or if you have kidney disease, or if you know of someone, about 37 million Americans have kidney disease. 1 out of 3 is at risk. Any threes? Any threes? Any threes?
Yes, we have quite a few threes. And Matilda Robinson, I guess she put a 3 for everyone she knows. Hey, Matilda. She has 6 threes up here.
You know what, Miss Matilda, you got us up in here doing algebra, trigonometry, and calculus on these threes. But yeah, a lot of people do have chronic kidney disease. And here's the thing, most people don't even know that they have it, Ms. Matilda. That's the scary part, because by the time you get symptoms of CKD, then it's often already far gone. But there are people who have CKD with no symptoms. But don't worry, there's a way to know. If you go and see your primary care physician, then when they do the typical testing, like the health screening, they do a blood test, a BMP, basic metabolic panel, or maybe even a CMP, a comprehensive metabolic panel. So if you're listening to me and you have your My Chart or your labs right there, then you can check it out. If you look at the section that has BUN, blood urea nitrogen, or creatinine, or EGFR as an estimated glomerular filtration rate, those are your kidney labs. Those are your kidney labs. And if you go and you look right now, if you see that your EGFR is less than 60, pick up the phone, call your doctor and be like, hey, let's talk about me going to see a kidney specialist or a nephrologist, okay? And then also the BUN, the creatinine will let you know. And if you check out my videos right here on this Dr. Frita YouTube channel, I have, oh my God, there's a whole playlist. Go to my playlist on kidney disease where I talk about warning signs and symptoms of kidney disease. I talk about the CKD stages to let you know what they mean. There are 5 stages. I talk about what foods are best if you have kidney disease. I talk about kidney detox, the truth about kidney detox. So I'll give you a bunch of information and share it with every 3 that you put in that comment, please. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you, Matilda. Ms. Rosalind Washington, hello.
Hi, Ms. Rosalind Washington.
She's put a 3 also. She says her mom, but she transitioned in 2010 with 1 kidney.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that about your mom. Yeah, it's just very common. Like I said, 37 million Americans have it. And if you have a family member with it, like in your case, your mom, you definitely want to make sure that you're seeing your doctor and finding out what to do to prevent kidney disease, or if you're having any early stages. Again, especially if you hit CKD stage 3, sometimes the doctors don't volunteer it for whatever reason. Say, please send me to a nephrologist, a kidney specialist. But again, we know those top 2 causes are diabetes, high blood pressure. We're also finding out genetics. There's something called ApoL1, and Black people are at a higher risk of getting it, and it can lead to other kidney diseases. But, we're hoping that now that we see certain genetics that can predispose, maybe there'll be some things that we can do medically. But thank you for sharing. I'm sorry about your mom, and, just make sure you do everything you can for your health and sharing it with family members, what they can do to fight kidney disease. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have chatting with Alice.
Hello. Oh, hey, you're back. How you doing? Look, and tell me, is it L? Is this Alice?
I don't know if Alice, ALES.
Write it out for us phonetically, how to say it. I'm going to say Alice because I want to say chatting with Alice.
I have high blood pressure and diabetes, but it's no longer on meds, and lost 140 pounds with stage 3A kidney disease.
Ooh, 140 pounds? That is really, really good. Let me tell you. So if you lost 140 pounds, then it sounds like you definitely, we're living with obesity. The different measures of obesity, but, BMI greater than 30, maybe even greater than 40. And here's the thing about that weight loss, as you are just a living example. When you're living with obesity, it puts you at risk for chronic kidney disease. It puts you at risk for diabetes, puts you at risk for high blood pressure. And just by losing the weight, you were able to get off meds. So congratulations to you. And I'm telling you, you have added years and years and years to your life. And so you're at CKD 3A. Definitely, it is recommended that you be followed by a nephrologist. Okay, so if you're not, talk to your primary care doctor about being followed. And, there's really a great chance that you'll be able to hang out at that 3A, and not progress in a rapid manner. But you want to talk to your doctor. You also want to ask the doctor, because now we have certain medications, in addition to lifestyle and keeping the blood pressure under control, diabetes, there are also certain medications that are shown to slow down the progression of kidney disease. So make sure you ask your doctor, just in case you're eligible for one of those. But yeah, congratulations, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming back.
Way off base. It's Elise. Sorry.
You know what? What's Elise talking about? Hi, Elise. Now what you doing?
That's chatting with Elise.
Oh, Elise. Elise.
Yes, Elise.
Does it sound the same way as ELISE would sound?
Well, phonetically, ALEASE. Elise.
Elise. Okay. Chatting with Elise. Okay, good.
All right. I
Elise.
have Deidre Perryman.
Hi, Miss Deidre Perryman.
Got a 3, and at 75 years, no transplant if I needed one. So age plays a factor with transplant.
It can. I tell you, when I did my nephrology fellowship at Emory, and I definitely, worked in transplant. This was a while ago. And even then, I transplanted somebody who was 83 years old at that time. Now, by the time you're 75, there are going to be different risk factors that you have. So what I'll say is this: by no means will I sit here, on Beyonce's internet and tell you not to get checked out. What I recommend is that you talk to your nephrologist and you talk to a transplant nephrologist just to find out the pros and the cons if you are interested in getting a transplant. I know there are certain quote unquote rules and certain people who have their statements of who they are going to give a kidney to and who they're not going to give a kidney to. But here's the thing. We have certain kidneys that may come from a donor who already has, a creatinine that's not perfect, or from a donor who has something that makes the kidney not necessarily a kidney that's going to last a long, long time. And sometimes if you are of a certain age, if you're of an advanced age, and maybe that kidney still has a greater life expectancy than the person who's of advanced age, and there's a possibility that the transplant center will still transplant the kidney. Plus, you never know what different studies people have going on. Like for that person who got the pig kidney transplant, pig kidney transplants aren't available for everybody. That was an FDA compassionate approval to have it. So what I say is, regardless of your age, have a conversation with your nephrologist and the transplant nephrologist and just find out if you're someone who's eligible and what kind of studies or what's going on depending on the transplant center that's near you.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Frita. Optimal Living 2.0.
Hi.
What is the normal range for EGFR for Blacks over 50 years or for Blacks in general?
I'm glad you asked that question about Black people, because if you look on some labs, some older labs, you will notice that there was the non-African American EGFR and there was an African American EGFR. But guess what? We're going past that. And, National Kidney Foundation, American Society of Nephrology, the different major organizations have gone against classifying the GFR based on race for many reasons. So just originally, when they based the GFR based on race, it was done based on a study that showed that creatinine, which is how we kind of determine the GFR or an estimated GFR, we know that creatinine is a muscle byproduct, right? And so it was believed that most Black people or people of African descent had more musculature. And when you dealt with two people, like a Black person and a white person, same age, same gender, same weight, they found that for most Black people with a higher creatinine, they might have the same kidney function as someone who was non-Black with a lower creatinine. And so they started saying, oh, Black people can have a creatinine that's a little higher and they don't have kidney function that's that bad. Here's the problem with that. When it's time to get a transplant, your EGFR has to be at a certain number to qualify, right? Like less than 15. Well, by that standard, a Black person and a white person can have the same creatinine, that kidney lab, but the white person's GFR would be a little lower to make them qualify for the kidney transplant, but the Black person might not qualify. So then people started looking around like, wait a minute, this classification of African-American EGFR versus non-African-American EGFR is causing Black people, not to necessarily qualify for a transplant, and it's giving us more wait time. And so that's one of the reasons that they got rid of it. And so now to answer the question about normal GFR, it's normal GFR for across the board. And so when we look at what is considered to be a normal GFR, like just completely no problems, we're talking 90 or greater, 90 milliliters per minute or greater. If you have a GFR that's between 60 and 90, then you're considered to be in CKD2, chronic kidney disease stage 2, if that's your baseline. And really, you're very high functioning with CKD2. Not a lot of changes you have to make as far as diet, but just you need to be aware, of things to do to keep from progressing. CKD3 is when it's time to see a kidney doctor, and that's between 30 and 59 EGFR, okay? At CKD stage 3, you might notice your blood pressure going up. You might start having swelling. You may have to avoid certain medications that are harmful to the kidneys, but you definitely need a kidney doctor to help you to navigate through that. When you start getting to the lower stages, okay, that's advanced. And those are stages 4 and 5. So between 15 and 29, that's stage 4, which is the stage right before you're eligible for dialysis or a transplant. So people who have the kidney disease where they're eligible for a transplant, they have GFRs of less than 15. Please make sure you check out my video, CKD Stages, right here on this Dr. Frita YouTube channel. I go into detail. And again, this is information I'm providing. Consult with your nephrologist. But if your GFR is less than 60, consult with your primary care doctor. But if your eGFR is less than 60, consult with the nephrologist. All right. What else we got going on?
We got a couple people did not like, I guess, the guidelines before with the race factor.
Oh, tell me what they have to say.
Well, Miss Delicious says, wow, with a nice red, angry face.
Wait. That's not the same Miss Delicious who I used to see in Clubhouse, is it?
Possibly.
Are there two E's?
Yes, 2 E's with an MZ.
You know what? Hi. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Okay.
All right, and then chatting with Elise, who says it's short for Alicia.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
she says that was a dishonor to have race-based.
Yeah, so we live, we learn, and we hope that our systems get better and better. And sometimes, and we'll never know what the intentions were. Our history, especially here in the United States, is so rocky. And when it comes to race, we were built off of a system that got it wrong. And so in this particular case, now they've gotten rid of it by all the major institutions, it looks like they're trying to get it right. And like I said at the beginning of this live, I went to a conference where I'm the medical director for a nonprofit dialysis unit, and they're definitely trying to get it right. Oh, and you'll like to hear this. Here's what a lot of transplant centers have done. They went back for all of the Black people who were on the wait list for a transplant and had a certain amount of waiting time. They reduced some of that waiting time based on what the calculation would have been had race not been a factor. So essentially, they moved a lot of the Black people on the transplant list up so they don't have to wait as long. So again, the system gets it wrong a lot of time, but in that case, they're trying to get it right. Thank you.
That's good.
That make you feel a little bit better. That made me feel better.
That's good to hear. All right. A couple more questions. Just in general, you want to get to them?
Yeah, we'll do a couple questions, and it's about time to wrap it on up, I suppose. But yeah, let's do a couple more questions.
All right. So Mashawn Baines.
Hello, Mashawn. Welcome.
2 questions actually. Can fibroids cause kidney damage?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Let me tell you why. Okay, because here's the thing, and this is how the anatomy works. The way your body is, in the very front, there's the bladder, okay? And we know that you got 2 kidneys that are in the flanks, right? And then the ureters are the tubes that lead down to the bladder, okay? Behind the bladder is the uterus, right? And so if you have fibroids, which many women do, especially many Black women, I don't know why it gets us so much. Actually, I do know why, but we have different theories, I should say. So you have the bladder in the front, and then you have the uterus where you can get fibroids. And then right behind the uterus is the rectum, okay? And a way to remember that is RUB, R-U-B, rectum, uterus, bladder. I'm going somewhere with this. If you're someone who has very large fibroids, you can imagine that it's possible for them to push your bladder, right? They can push and even cause some blockage in how your bladder empties. If that happens, and I've had it happen to my patients, if that fibroid is pushing against your bladder, one, it can make you always have to run to the restroom, right? Because your bladder capacity is not that big, but also it can cause a backup of urine that can go up those ureters, those tubes, into the kidneys and cause kidney damage. So the short answer is yes, it's possible for fibroids to cause kidney problems. If you're feeling like this could be you, talk to your gynecologist, okay? And talk to your primary care physician as well, of course. And there are things that we can do. They can start off by doing some imaging studies, like an ultrasound. They look at the kidneys, the bladder, and kind of get a picture. But that's a real good question. I've had patients whose fibroids have caused a blockage or obstruction in the urinary system. Oh, that's good. All right.
Yeah. And her second part, I think she is discussing high blood pressure in general. I guess what medicine is best for Black Americans. I guess some of a broad question.
Okay, so definitely, this is something I'm going to have you consult with your physician about. But I'll tell you a little bit on the history of that. because now we're getting away again from race. Because just think about it. You're here. If you're here in the United States, if you look to your left, if you look to the right, if you go to your family reunion, if your family has been here for decades, certainly for centuries, then it's not likely, if you're a Black person, that you're 100% Black, right? So then taking that logic, how can you base a medicine just on someone's Blackness? We have some people in our family trees who are Black, but if you go and do that DNA 23, they might have more white blood or more Native American blood, right? And so they are getting rid of just the race. But when I was being trained, like back in medical school, they used to say A's and B's for white people, C's and D's for Black people. This is not what I'm condoning, and this is not how I practice. I'm just telling you that your question does come from something medically, historically. They used to say, well, like ACE inhibitors and beta blockers, A's and B's were good for white people, and then calcium channel blockers and diuretics, C, calcium channel blockers, D, diuretics were good for Black people. We're getting away from the race. And so what I say is consult with your physician and find out what medications are best for you. I'll tell you, for me, some of the medicines that I use in my practice, I do use beta blockers like metoprolol, labetalol. I don't so much use atenolol. That's one of the old tried and true beta blockers. I definitely use carvedilol or Coreg, especially for my heart patients. I use medications like the calcium channel blockers, amlodipine, okay, or Norvasc, Procardia, or nifedipine. I use some other ones also, hydralazine. I use Imdur. I use diuretics like Lasix. Lisinopril has its place. That's one of the ACE inhibitors. And so do the angiotensin receptor blockers like losartan. But for me, a lot of times when patients are seeing me, if they're in acute kidney injury and the kidneys are getting worse fast, then sometimes those medicines like the lisinopril and angiotensin receptor blockers like the losartan can make them worse. But they are good medicines, especially early in diabetic nephropathy. I won't get into all those details, but my bottom line take home point is I don't base my medications based on race. I base it on my patient, different things going on with my patient, and what I think will give the best outcome. And in addition to the medicine, I always counsel on lifestyle management, exercising, drinking plenty of water, being well hydrated, eating a mostly plant-based diet with antioxidants, anti-inflammatories in your diet. So there's all kinds of things to do. But yeah, I get away from the race. But I do understand your question because there is a historical basis where we did base it on race.
All right, thank you.
I'm enjoying these questions. I love the live Q&A because I never know what I'm going to get. And as y'all are in here asking your questions, please make sure you like this video and share it. Even for people who didn't get a chance to be with us today, you can share the link and they can be a part of the replay team and they can listen. We got more questions. Ooh.
Yeah, we have just a few more.
Okay, we'll do a few more and then we'll wrap on up. And we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back for a Medical Monday. We'll be back here next Monday talking medicine in the news, live, more live Q&A with the hot health topics. What else you got?
All right, I got Tom B.
Hi, Tom B.
I have PKD 6 years since diagnosed. So far, my numbers have crept up, but still not slowing me down. Thanks for your show.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I pray you do well. So let's talk about PKD, polycystic kidney disease. There are different types. There's autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease. There's PKD1, PKD2. Okay, I won't go into too many details, but in general, polycystic kidney disease is a genetic kidney disease, right? There's nothing that you had to do with it, Tom B. These are the cards you were dealt. It just runs in families. And when it's the autosomal dominant one, then what that means is very likely one of your parents has PKD, okay? And if you have PKD, the autosomal dominant one, then with each child you have, there's a 50% that child would have. And that's with each child, that's the dice roll, a 50% chance. So what happens in PKD, there's multiple cysts in the kidneys. And instead of kidneys being a normal size of like 9 to 11 centimeters, they become really large, 16 centimeters, 17 centimeters, and they can take up a lot of room in your abdomen. Sometimes the cysts can be infected and you get kidney infections, urinary tract infections. Sometimes they can bleed. Sometimes they can be very painful. Very importantly, they put you at a higher risk for having high blood pressure and a higher risk for progressing to further stages of CKD. And another thing that's important to know, Tom B, is that with the PKD, patients can be at a higher risk of a brain aneurysm. So make sure you talk to your kidney doctor. And if they have not screened you for a brain aneurysm, they'll ask you certain questions and, and they'll see what's indicated for you. but understand that there's a higher risk of having a brain aneurysm and liver cyst as well. When I was doing my training, we did not have any FDA approved treatment for PKD. And there's no absolute treatment that will make it go away, but we do have managements that can slow down the progression. And so if your kidney doctor hasn't mentioned it already, at least mention to your doctor, hey, what medicines do you have that are available to slow down the progression of kidney disease? And am I eligible for them? Okay. Because we have medicines that can really slow down how large the kidney cysts grow and can prolong your time and help to delay going on dialysis. But I'm glad you've been doing well. And I really appreciate you for sharing, because that's a really important topic. And that's why it's important that we share our family history. It's important that we share our family history, because I'm sure if you ran down your family history, that you'll find that there are cousins, aunts, uncles who also have PKD. And it's important to share so that the children, the young adults know to get screened, especially now that we have some management. Thank you for sharing.